We are live. We are live. One more question. Okay. Okay. These are going to be a few boring minutes. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. So just a heads up on that. Okay, let's make an announcement and then we can start. At everyone now live on YouTube talking about Photoshop. So now, and we'll see what's what. We'll see what's what. First time on YouTube Live. So this is really going to be interesting. Hopefully the audio quality is good. I think that's my only concern right now. But I guess we'll find out in a few minutes, right? If everything is fine. I'm a bit yellowish. Some fantastic 720p action going on here. So I hope you guys can tune in on Discord, or if you want, you can just use the chat room here. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm Chris Barron. I think you know me by name. You might know me by my voice, but less so by my face. But yeah, this is really yellow. I might add some lights next time around. It's 8 p.m. here. It's the 28th of June, 2020. And we're going to talk about Photoshop stuff. We're going to talk about Adobe in this particular session. It's going to be 30 minutes long. I'm going to wait a bit longer until I get into it, until I start the topic of today's chat. Basically, I'm going to continue to do this for the next couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. It's going to be every day on Wednesday and Sunday. Thank you for your messages. Thank you for your support. Basically, it's going to be me rambling about Photoshop, about life as a designer, as an entrepreneur that does all sorts of things relating to Photoshop. I'm basically using the program just about every day now to create all sorts of content for my business, social media content, memes, banners, Facebook ads, Instagram content, you name it, brochures, websites, and all that. So I think we should get started because it's 8 p.m. here. So let's talk about Photoshop, specifically about Adobe. Because I really feel like some people have, wow, the screen is really bright. By the way, I'm not showing you the screen just because you can see it or you can read it. I'm just using it so I can see what's being shared. I have this Creative Cloud program, and I'm basically using most of Adobe's programs. I'd say about 50% of their available programs. I don't use InDesign. I don't use Lightroom and Fresco. I don't use, what else do we have here? I think that's about it. I mostly use, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe XD, After Effects. I use quite a lot. And, I spend a lot of time on Reddit, and I see that a lot of people love to hate on Adobe. And I feel like we really should talk about what the company is doing, especially since I've been in the pre-release program for a while now. So that means I get access to all sorts of stuff that Adobe is planning, all sorts of experimental features and whatnot. I won't be able to tell you exactly what's going on because there's all sorts of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. But it's really interesting, to get that insight because, back in the day, let's go way back, in 1995 and 2000, when you saw a movie star, you knew you never had the chance to actually meet them or talk to them, right? Or get a reply from them, right? It was a huge barrier. But nowadays you can just go on Twitter and, and you can just insult someone just like that, and they might even reply back, the biggest stars in the world, the biggest companies in the world. So I feel like that was the case with Adobe as well. I never thought I was able to actually have a conversation with someone at Adobe. I never imagined that would be the case. But as time went by, I actually had a few meetings. I think I had about 3 or 4 meetings here in Bucharest, Romania, with various people from the Adobe staff. And in the pre-release forums, there's all sorts of conversations. There's all sorts of features that are being discussed and whatnot. And I really feel like a lot of people are a bit confused about what's going on, and that's basically what I want to talk about. Okay, so that was a bit drawn out. Basically, I feel Photoshop is going through a lot of changes. I feel like the guys at Adobe are doing all sorts of things that you guys are not gonna appreciate. I feel like they're investing heavily into things that are not something that you'll be able to use on a day-to-day basis. I think, well, the guys at Adobe individually, they're absolutely fantastic. I feel that there's no one particular person, there's no leader, and because of that, there's no leadership, and because of that, there's no one specific vision. And you can see that by their release schedule and by what's happening basically with Photoshop and with all the other programs, with what's going on with Adobe XD, for example. So basically what I'm trying to say is this is a love-hate relationship that I'm having with Adobe, because on one end, I absolutely love the guys that I'm working with, that I talk to and whatnot. I love seeing, all those discussions in the pre-release forum where, people discuss about how you can make Photoshop better and whatnot. But on the other hand, I'm really so frustrated, right? There are so many things that, again, you'll never actually use. You'll never actually spend any time doing it whatsoever, using those specific tools. And it's things like that that really upset people, people from Udemy, people from Reddit and whatnot, because there's a series of changes that don't actually make any sense. They don't make your life better. And I feel like that's the number one reason as to why people are moving to Sketch, Figma, Affinity Designer and whatnot. I really feel like Photoshop has dropped the ball. Adobe has dropped the ball. And what they're doing right now is, I think, again, this is not based on any information that I'm having, is I think that they're constantly gonna lose market share. And I think more and more designers are gonna look for other programs. I think a lot of people were looking at Adobe XD as being the next Photoshop, even though that was not the point. That's not the point. Adobe XD is not a replacement for Photoshop. It's actually a dedicated tool that's basically used for the UI work, for these user interface work, web design, app design, but even all sorts of other things. I actually use Adobe XD to create my brochures. So when I want to make a printable A5 brochure, I actually use Adobe XD. When I want to create something 14 pages, 20 pages, something like that, I actually did that recently. So it's not just UI work. You can use it for presentations. You can use it for various things. But the idea is, Photoshop right now is a big company, a huge company without a leader. And unfortunately, that shows when you use the color picker, for example. That's the classic thing that's written on Reddit. You see it in one way in one program, in one Adobe program, and in a totally different way in another one. You see all sorts of discrepancies regarding the alignment tools. You see all sorts of things that don't really make sense if they're under the same company, Adobe. You should expect, Illustrator to be really similar to Adobe XD, similar to Illustrator and whatnot, right? That would be logical, right? Because it's the same company, but that's not the case. So again, what you guys need to realize, because let me bring this down to earth, is that Photoshop, I don't think, will be a monopoly. I don't think that everybody is going to recognize Photoshop as the one single design program that's out there. I think this has been going on for a couple of years now. I think Sketch has done a pretty good job in grabbing a big chunk of designers and switching them from Photoshop to Sketch. And I feel like more and more that's going to happen unless something significant happens at Adobe. Because again, I love those guys. I love the company. I love their products, even though they're flawed like any program out there, like any product. I really feel like they're lacking leadership in the sense that, again, look, just one particular thing that really upset me. So what's gonna happen, I feel, is in the next couple of months, probably the next 12 months or so, is exactly what Mercedes is doing with their cars. Basically, what they tend to do is every 12 months, maybe 18 months or so, they tweak something to the design, right? So you buy an S-Class for whatever, $100,000. And then after 12 months, a new one comes in with better headlights. And now all of a sudden you have the old one, right? So that's very similar to what happens here in Photoshop. They're changing various things, and those things that are changing basically have no use to you as a beginner or as an advanced user. They're just basically there to show you that, hey, you're using CC 2019, but look, we have 2020 available. It's basically something that's used to shame people that they're not using the latest and greatest version. And I really feel like that's detrimental. You shouldn't do things like that. You shouldn't make small tweaks and package them like that's something completely different. Because I'm getting all these questions, is CC 2019 better than 2020? Is 2017 better than 2020? Should I upgrade? All these questions, regarding previous versions of Photoshop, because people are happy with them. People are happy and they don't understand why they have to upgrade. They don't realize what's the deal with each release, right? And to Adobe's credit, they've done some fantastic things. The properties panel, for example, is beautiful. It's fantastic. It's totally great, right? But other things are not so great. Other things that they constantly push, various features that make no sense. For example, let me open this up because I've never actually used it. I've rarely used it, to be more specific. It's the alternative to using clipping masks. It's a feature that you can use. It's a new tool that you can use just to create clipping masks, and it doesn't make any actual sense. Let's see if I can find it here. I think I have a custom toolbar actually, so it might not be here. Oh, it's actually here. Yeah, it's the frame tool. So the frame tool, I have not heard of a single person that actually uses the frame tool. And there are a few other additions here that, again, I don't understand why they're doing it. And you'll see what I mean. I know I'm a bit cryptic right now, but in the next couple of Photoshop releases, you'll see things that don't make any sense, that they're not useful at all. So this is the love-hate relationship that I'm having with Adobe and their programs. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Adobe XD because I know that's something that's really interesting. And then I'm going to move on to all sorts of things. But yeah, really quick, as someone just mentioned regarding bug fixing. The number one problem with Photoshop right now is the speed. That's the only thing that's wrong with the program. Adobe is a fantastic company. I know they have fantastic engineers. They have fantastic people on staff, but there's only one thing they have to address, and that's speed. Luckily, they have something in mind. It's not exactly what I was thinking, but they will improve the speed of Photoshop, as far as I understand. But again, that's the only gripe you should have with Photoshop. Regarding various other improvements and features that you won't use, you can just ignore them, right? And that's not going to be a problem. But the number one issue with Photoshop right now is its speed. If they can make it faster, they're going to keep that audience. Designers will surely come back if they just fix the speed. That's the only major drawback. Now, going back to Adobe XD, should you learn it? I believe so. I think you should indeed learn Adobe XD. I think, in 2020, 2021, Adobe XD is really gonna grow. But the thing is, there's something to mention, right? It is gonna grow, but it's never going to be, let's say, over 15% or so market share, as I imagine it. You're not going to talk to 100 designers, and 50 are going to use Adobe XD, and that's quite unfortunate. That's really bad, because when you have a program like it was the case with Photoshop that everybody uses, you get a lot more content, you get more tutorials, you get loads of gradients, brushes, custom shapes, you get all this content, right? It's fantastic, right? When you get all this content, because again, Photoshop was seen as the design program. Now, I don't think that's going to happen with Adobe XD, unfortunately. So that's going to mean that the community is going to be smaller. That means that when you work with a client, they may not know about Adobe XD. They may not use it. And again, that can be overcome. It's not a big deal. You can use third-party programs like Zeppelin and whatnot. So that's not going to be a huge deal. But in general, it's not going to be as comfortable as working with Photoshop, in 2005, 2010, 2012 and whatnot, because again, Photoshop was the design program, and now Adobe XD has been out for many years, and it's not an established program. I don't think it's an established program. I think it's being used, but it's being used, again, like all those other design programs, like Figma, like whatever, right? I think Sketch actually has a bigger audience, has a bigger crowd. So I feel that you should learn Adobe XD, and I'm going to make a tutorial. I'm going to make a course on it. I think it's going to be at least 7 hours of content. It's probably mostly going to be about UI work, user interface work, creating dashboards and websites and whatnot. We're going to talk about prototyping and interacting with the design and whatnot. But again, you should not expect something groundbreaking. You should not expect something where, you add it to your resume, to your CV, and all of a sudden you're far more valuable. Your value as a designer is probably not going to increase by much if you're going to learn Adobe XD. And more than that, you're going to find you're going to have some issues switching back and forth from Adobe XD and Photoshop, because again, remember, Adobe XD is not a replacement for the Photoshop, right? So they actually work pretty well together, and you can right-click an image in Adobe XD and you have edit in Photoshop just there, right? So the idea is to work, to combine them, to work in Adobe Photoshop and, do various things with filters and various layout styles and whatnot, do all sorts of things. And then obviously go back in Adobe XD and continue to work at a blazing speed. But what you're going to find is that you're going to be annoyed as hell. You're going to be annoyed, because that's my experience right now as a power user. You're going to be annoyed because Photoshop has so many fantastic features from Adobe again, and Adobe XD is missing those things in particular. For example, in Adobe XD, just something, off the top of my head, because I have a long list of things that really that annoy me. You can't change the color of your interface, for example, right? You still can't do that. And as far as I know, so we're in 2020, Adobe XD has been out for what, 4 years at least? It was in the in beta for a while, in beta. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But yeah, you can't change it, right? Nor can you do things like detach your layers panel. And actually, the more I work on it, it seems like you're not even supposed to use the layers panel, right? So when you work here and you do all sorts of things in Adobe XD, I realize you're not seeing the screen, but it really doesn't matter. You're not supposed to use the layers panel, right? You're supposed to hide it. And basically, you're supposed to hide it just because you need other panels, basically. So you either have your layers panel or you have your assets panel. And that doesn't make any sense. You're not supposed to choose between two important ones. You're not supposed to choose between the properties panel and whatever, let's say, the brush panel, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? I want both. Why can I not, just move my panels around, reposition them, resize them and whatnot. You can't do that. And again, this is just one small little gripe, it's just one small little thing. So it's because of that you're gonna be annoyed, right? I don't think you're actually gonna abandon Photoshop. I think you're probably gonna switch to Adobe XD. I think you're gonna probably beta. Yeah, thank you for that, Elena. Beta, yeah. Most likely you're gonna use probably Adobe XD about 70% of the time, and 30% of the time you're gonna use Photoshop. And again, it's gonna be really jarring. When you switch back and forth, you're gonna be uncomfortable in both programs, because again, one is missing basic things, the other one is really, really slow. So I feel things like that really, people are gonna be vocal about it, because they already are. When you look on Facebook, when you look on Reddit, people are trashing Adobe XD, and it really hurts me, because again, I've met with these people in Bucharest. I've sat on a meeting, on a meeting. I've spoken with them, to emails and whatnot, and they're great people. They really are. They have a great vision. They constantly monitor this and that, what everybody else is doing, other design programs. They listen to our feedback as designers, as instructors and whatnot. But unfortunately, again, the leadership is just not there. There's no one Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or whatever. Even though I don't really believe in these God figures, I really feel like, if there was someone that said, what the hell is up with the different color picker? Just a random example. If there was one chief, that was overseeing everything, and I'm sure there is. You don't know his name or her name. I don't know it either. But if there was one person that represented Adobe, and this person oversaw everything, he saw, he entered Premiere Pro, he saw the color picker, then the color picker in Adobe XD, then the color picker in Photoshop. He would not allow such a thing to happen. He would not allow, different color pickers in the same company. Use the same one. And it's fine, if they're not the same right now. But there's been 6, 10, 20 releases, when you're constantly rolling out updates, there's no excuse for things like that, right? So again, going back to my original point, I really feel like Adobe XD, unfortunately, it basically missed its train, and now what's gonna happen is it's gonna claw inch by inch to get more market share, to get recognized as the main UI program, the main design program out there. It's a fantastic program. The prototyping is great. It's blazingly fast. It loads up like that. It's starting to have all sorts of plugins and whatnot. It's a great tool. It's a great design program, but it's still missing so many things that is gonna frustrate you to death. So because of that, I am gonna create a tutorial on it. I am gonna say exactly what you hear right now. I'm not gonna try and make it up like an incredible groundbreaking program, because it's not. I'm not gonna do that just so I can sell a course. But again, I have to tell you that I'm really frustrated with it. I would love for someone at Adobe to pick up the reins and to fix all these things that are possible, that they are that again doable, right? Because again, as a product owner and an entrepreneur, and as a person who had a tech company for 5 years, we developed various apps, keyboards and SMS apps and whatever for Android phones. We had over 120 million downloads, and we have a development team and whatnot, product managers and whatnot. I understand it's difficult, right? But when you're Adobe and the stakes are so high, you can't really play around with constrained aspect ratio, right? Which happened, in CC 2017, then 2019, I think, and now in 2020 again, it's a different behavior. You can't play around with those things, right? You can't change your behavior just like that and then revert and then switch it back yet again. It doesn't make any sense, right? So that's my gripe with Adobe. Let me know if you have any questions about whatever, because again, basically, I know this wasn't very informative. This wasn't a fantastic chat, But basically I had to vent, I had to share my opinion, because again, there are so many things that I love about this program and this company, but yeah, unfortunately, it's lacking leadership, a person who has to take the reins and who has to focus the company's goals into one specific part, into one specific direction, right? Because that's what I feel it's really missing: direction, a certain part. Let's focus on this and this and that, right? Three things at the most, and let's make it work. Right now, they're working on 15 different things. It's different teams, different things, different priorities. And again, I think that's really hurting people. Now, going back to more down to earth things, let's talk about Webflow, which is again something I'm not gonna address in depth at this point, but I really feel the following thing is something that applies to most designers, and that's the following. If you want to learn a different program, whether it's Adobe XD, whether it's whatever, Webflow or whatever, if you want to learn to code, if you want to learn whatever else, first make sure that you don't have any execution mistakes in Photoshop. When you design something in Photoshop and you post it in Review My Work or on Facebook or whatever, please make sure that you don't have any execution mistakes. Sometimes beginners think that, man, if I were just to learn a different program, man, I would get so many projects. The reason why I'm not getting any projects, the reason why I'm not getting any money out of my design skills is because I don't have Webflow. It's because I don't know how to code. It's because I don't know Adobe XD or Figma or whatever. That's not the case. I feel like that's a huge mistake, and I feel a lot of people, they hope that's gonna be the saving grace. If I just learn one more program, then I'm gonna make a lot of money from my design work. That's not the case. So that's why I don't actually recommend Webflow. It's not because Webflow is not a good framework, it's not a good way to code your websites or whatever. It's just because I feel like that's an excuse. I feel like if you have 2 hours in a day, after your work, after your job, to learn something, to develop your skills, I really feel like you should focus on Photoshop. I really feel like you should learn those specific techniques that make you better, right? For example, again, one of the things that really took me, to a different level was using my hotkeys, was using, my hands like that, like a pianist. This is how your hands should work, right? So I really feel like that's one of the things that you should do if you have, only 2 hours or whatever, let's say 10 hours per week, 20 hours per month. Use it to develop your skills in Photoshop. It's not how many programs you know, it's about how good you are. And you can be good no matter what you use. You can use Paint, not Paint, but let's not exaggerate. But again, you can use GIMP, you can use any software out there and make decent money. So if you want my advice, don't learn anything else until you're able to execute at least 10 designs that are impeccable. When you post them, I think, again, people should only say, hey, this is a solid design, this is a good design, I like your design. This is the only feedback that people have to say. This is the only thing that you have to hear. You should not hear, okay, your font size is off, your color scheme is off, your photos are generic, there's too much stock photo, there's too much dummy content, lorem ipsum and whatnot. So if you're not able to execute your designs like that, I really feel like it doesn't make sense. And one thing that I really wanna tell you guys. So listen, let's say you don't have a portfolio set up right now. Do the following: go to any of my websites and create something for my company. Create a banner, create a Facebook cover, create content for my Instagram, create a new website, create a brochure. It doesn't matter, right? Create a mobile version. Create something for the real company. Because when you create something for the real company, it's going to show. The design is going to seem much more genuine, right? It's going to seem original, it's going to seem real, and that's obviously going to help you with your portfolio. What I'm seeing on Discord right now is people doing all sorts of fake designs that have no sense, they have no purpose. They just throw a bunch of lorem ipsum right there, maybe some graphics from free pick, and that's it. They have a design, and they're asking me, hey Chris, can I use it in my portfolio? The answer is no. Use a real company. It doesn't have to be mine. I'm not looking for free work. But the reason why I'm mentioning my company is because of the following. If you can create something, a nice Instagram post for one of my products, I may offer you some money. I may want to buy that design. Does that make sense? So instead of, recreating IMDb or booking.com or creating whatever fake apps or fake websites or fake whatever, create something for the real company, and because you have direct contact with me, you can show it to me, and maybe I'm going to purchase it, right? It's a no-brainer. It's very easy. It's very straightforward, and that's how you can A, get a solid portfolio, and B, get some money in your bank account, right? Create something awesome, show it to me, and again, if it sucks, if I won't buy it, at least I'll probably do a review on it. I'll probably review it. I'm gonna tell you what's wrong, and then you can improve, right? If you have any execution mistakes, if you have any design principles that you're not using and whatnot. So I really feel like that's something that you have to do. I won't talk about project management like someone in the chat room suggested right now, because I don't have enough time. I'm going to spend a couple of more minutes on it, and then I'm going to end. Let me know if you have any other questions in the chat room. But again, overall, I really feel strongly about using Adobe products. I'm still going to use them. I'm still in love with them, even though they're flawed. I feel like having any type of conversation regarding, Photoshop versus Figma versus Affinity versus whatever versus Sketch versus whatever versus GIMP versus whatever, that doesn't make any sense. Use whatever you want, because that really doesn't matter. And, I've been doing this since 2009, I think, maybe early 2010. So it's about 10 years now. And I've been teaching since 2013. So that's, again, 7 years, seven and some change. So I've been using this program. The biggest thing that I'm going to say is the fact that, again, I've spent my years working as a freelancer, and I've lived off of that money. I paid rent, I paid my bills through Photoshop. So that's point number one. But right now, what's going on right now is equally as important, because, again, I'm a business owner. I have things that I want to do, and those things I've done through graphics, through, whatever, through a website, through a brochure, through social media content and whatnot. So I really feel like this has given me a different perspective on things, because, again, in the past, I just created stuff that was beautiful, that was nice to look at, right? Stuff that was, okay, maybe gorgeous, maybe beautiful, maybe so-and-so. But again, the point was that, I was just trying to impress the client through flashy graphics and whatnot. Nowadays, again, I'm concerned about, click rates. I'm concerned about bounce rates. I'm concerned about, creating beautiful copy. I'm, about designs that really capture your attention, about slogans that really make sense. Again, my perspective has changed, because I feel like I really understand what clients want. And I think that's a big shift. That's an incredible shift, because, again, if I'm going to talk to a client nowadays, whatever, for any project, again, it doesn't matter if it's a website, an app, just content for social media, I feel like I know what he wants. I feel like I know what are his pain points, right? I feel like I know how to relate to his needs and to his problems, right? Because I'm gonna leave you with this. One of my my brainstorming sessions came to this conclusion. This is a business idea that I'm not gonna do it in the next 24 months or so. It's the following, right? In graphic design work, the worst thing is the client. That's the worst thing. Dealing with the client. The client is the only part that you hate, right? You love to create. You love to build something from scratch. You love to see how a project evolves and whatnot. But when the client comes in and he says, okay, what about putting a picture of a cat in the hero area? What about putting a picture of my wife, instead of the logo? What about if you make everything, 3 times bigger, right? So it really pops, like, a headline with 120 pixels, font size. So that's the part that you really hate. So if you really want to do something and you want a business idea, you can do the following, right? You can have a look in your country at various websites that you visit, right? For example, whatever you want, some dry cleaning, you want someone to whatever to clean your house, you want a mechanic, you want whatever you want, air conditioning repair and whatnot. Go on those websites, and you're very likely gonna see horrible websites. You're very likely gonna see, social media content that's outdated, that's ugly. And what you can do is you can create a package. You can create a desktop version of their website, a mobile version of their website. You can create some banners that they can share on Facebook, on or Instagram or whatever, and you can sell them as they are. That's something that you can do as well, right? No modification whatsoever. If you want any edits, it's gonna be what, $40 per hour. So that's a business idea for you. Again, if you want to get started, if you don't have any portfolios, any interest in your portfolio, if you don't know where to start, but you have the skills, if you're good at designing something, again, imagine again my site, Expert Photoshop, or This Looks Great, or whatever, any of my websites. Imagine they're horrible, right? Imagine I'm not making as much money as I could be making, right? It's simple. Just approach me, just email me your design, and let me know, okay, Chris, I saw your air conditioning website, and I feel like if you were to invest, a few $100s, you could make much more money. Would you like to double or triple your business? Here's what I propose. Here's a design. Here's a redesign of your website. Here's a new business card. Here's a new Facebook cover image. Here's 10 whatever banners for content, right? And just like that, you've made a sale, and you shouldn't sell anything under $500. I would probably charge anywhere from $1,000 to about $3,000-$4,000 for such a thing. Again, you don't have to create absolutely everything, obviously, right? You don't have to create absolutely everything and then send it as a package. Just create a website, just a homepage, right? Or just create again a business card or whatever you feel like it's lacking in that existing business. And again, I'm sure that these websites. I'm sure that you've visited some websites. You wanted to buy something, a service or whatever, anything that you wanted, right? And you saw a website and you would like, man, how are these guys still in business? How are these guys in top 3 Google search results, right? In page number 1, how the hell are these guys up there? And it's very likely that they're 10 years old or 15, 20 years old. It's probably because they're an old company, and for whatever reason they rank high on Google, right? But because of that, an old business with probably, let's say they're on the first page of Google, they're very likely to pay you. So create something for them and just cold email them. You don't need any introduction. You don't need to do anything else. Just email them, right? Just, give them a call, because they very likely have a phone call. Just say, hey, I'm looking to offer you some design services. I have a design already made. I just want to send it over. Can you give me an email? Can I send it through WhatsApp or whatever? Can I send it through Facebook Messenger or whatever? And that's it, right? That's it. It's as easy as that. Now, here's the thing about this so-called business. You create a beautiful website for an air conditioning company in your country that again has a nasty design, right? If those people reject you, if the first search result, if that first company rejects you, you know what you have to do? It's exactly like 99 Designs. Just message the second company, replace the logo, replace all the names, and send that design to the second company, then the third one, then the fourth one. Just, all 3 pages, 5 pages, the first 5 pages of search results, do that. Email them. I guarantee you're going to make money off of it if the design is decent. Because again, if it's an air conditioning company, probably the website is going to have, whatever, basically the same content, right? And again, the key here is that you offer the website as it is. You message the CEO, the business owner, whoever is in charge of that company, of that nasty website. You message him or her with your design, with your proposed design. You say this costs whatever, $500 for the design. You say it costs whatever, another $1,000 for the coding or whatever. And then if they reject you, just switch the content, switch the logo, which is going to take you, 20 minutes, and then try and sell it to the next company and the next company and the next company and the next company, and you're surely going to make a few $1,000s that way. I can guarantee you that if your designs are decent, you're surely gonna sell something. And again, it's obviously it's a bit difficult because you have to create the design before he actually says he wants it. But that's the key. That's how you get one foot in the door, right? Because what you don't want to do is email people and tell them, okay, I can create a beautiful design, this and that description and whatnot. People don't have time to read your emails. People don't have time to check out your portfolio and try and imagine what your costs are going to be, how long it will take and whatnot. So this is why you send the design up front. You send the design up front. If possible, talk to a coder, ask him how much this is going to cost, and then propose that package. Hey, Chris from air conditioning company, I have this thing that can double your business. Here's a complete redesign of your website. It comes as is. This is custom for your specific company. This is going to take you 7 days to implement. I already have a coder on standby. The price for the design is going to be $500. The price for the coding is going to be $750. If you want any edits or if you want additional services, that's going to be $40 per hour. I use the following program for complete transparency, and I would love to get an answer from you no matter what. That's your email, right? And you make an attachment, you post, you give the entire design at 100% quality, maybe some watermarks here and there, but very fine watermarks. And that's it. That's how you can make your first, again, couple of $1,000s without any problems. So create something for a real company, whether it's my companies or some companies from your own country. Create something that's beautiful. And that's why I'm constantly telling you, it doesn't matter what design program you use. You're probably using Photoshop or Adobe XD. That's totally fine. But again, don't sweat it and don't invest too much time in learning something else when your designs aren't at least a 7 out of 10. If you're above a 7 out of 10, day in, day out, if you post 10 designs and I tell you that all of them are a 7 out of 10 at least, then you can start learning whatever else you want, development, coding, whatever you want. But until then, please continue to learn Photoshop. Now, 1 more minute. Please let me know what you thought of this live chat, this stream, whatever. Any suggestions, anything I should change? I'm not sure about the angle. The angle is a bit wonky, obviously. The microphone is a bit to the side. So that's I'm not sure if the audio quality is better. I'm pretty sure this is better than Discord though. 720p again is not that great. It's not all that interesting. I'm not sure about the monitor either, because if you can't see it, it really doesn't make that much sense. For example, you can barely see what's going on here in Photoshop. I can't screen share. That's one of the problems. But yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions, if you feel like I should change anything. Let's get this out of the way. And yeah, probably we're gonna give it another go on Wednesday, July 1st. It's not gonna be this hour. It's gonna be 2 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes from this point in time. So a bit earlier. Yeah, and I'm sure that you guys are probably gonna have to get used to my face, because again, you've heard my voice so many hours, but yeah, now it's time to actually see my face again. I'm pretty I'm pretty upset about the video quality and the fact that I'm 720p, 480p, and I'm yellow as hell. This shirt doesn't help either because it's yellow as well. But yeah. So let's see what people are saying. It's good except the big monitor and the angle of the camera. Gotcha. Gotcha. Audio is better. Okay, that's pretty good. An average charge for the web design. I'm gonna speak about that in the next chat. Okay, so people I see they're pretty okay with the quality. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this is gonna get saved. I'm gonna do my best to save it. And yeah, I'll see you guys pretty soon. Thank you so much. This is Chris signing out. Thank you. Have a good one.